Hey, yo, say hello to the bad guy, Scott Hall. And I'm here in Houston, Texas, doing a little meet and greet, saying hi to the fans, signing a few autographs, taking a few pictures. That's what I do, brother.
And you were just on Austin's podcast not too long ago.
Right.
Can you tell us about that experience?
I think Steve is a great host. I think he needs, he does Broken Skull Ranch and Redneck Island. I think he needs like a talk show. He's really a skilled interviewer. It was a blast.
Any chance we're going to get a Scott Hall podcast here in the future?
I mean, who doesn't have one, right? I'm the only guy who doesn't have a podcast and kind of keep it that way.
I saw you recently at NXT Brooklyn, you and X-Pac, Nash.
Yeah.
What was your overall thoughts of the NXT product?
I'm a huge fan of NXT. In fact, I just was talking to WWE yesterday. I've been invited to return to NXT and help smarten up the young guys. And it's something that I enjoy doing. And to me, NXT is the hottest wrestling show out there.
Was there anybody that particularly stood out to you in your mind? Any of the talent?
I'm a big fan of Finn Balor. I think he's a big star, and I really think Becky Lynch is going to be a superstar in the making.
I was going to ask you that too. What do you think about this whole Divas Revolution that's going on?
I think it's a great idea because you got to face it, with 3 hours of TV live every week, it's basically like a free pay-per-view. So they're burning up their talent. So by employing the women and getting them more involved, it just stretches the broadcast out, if nothing else. And I think the fans' minds have changed a little bit about women in wrestling. Like when I came up, there was like some women wrestlers, but they weren't nowhere near the caliber of the divas today.
Did you ever think that it would be 2015, you'd be in Houston, Texas, about to go to the WWE event, and Sting was going to be in the main event?
No, but then again, we tried to help, and the NWO came out and tried to help him last year. I mean, I handed him the bat, and he didn't use it, dummy.
How much money was lost not having a Sting-Scott Hall feud in the WWE back in the heyday?
People always talk to me about why, like, man, you're the one guy who should have been the champ. I think looking back my whole career, I only had 2 title matches. I wrestled Brett once, and I wrestled Sting once. I don't think I ever had any more world title matches. I was always in some other match on the pay-per-view, like a tag team thing or a US thing or an IC thing. I think I only had 2 title matches my whole career.
So it didn't really matter to you that much?
No, I mean, I was doing whatever was asked of me. I always tried to look at it like being a team player, and whatever the team needed from me to make the pay-per-view successful, if it's to be on first or to be on last, I tried to do the best I could.
This is kind of a personal question, but I remember when you came to WWF around 92 or so,
yeah.
There was a lot of reshuffling that went on around that like Survivor Series pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened around that time?
Oh yeah, it was the match that never took place. It was supposed to be Flair and I against Warrior and Savage. And Warrior had a history of holding Vince up for money before the pay-per-views, to get a big guarantee. And Vince called his bluff. And so they had to substitute for Warrior, so they brought Perfect in from announcing to wrestling. So everything changed. I mean, I was told prior to the match that I was going to break Randy's leg and retire him. Of course, when you have a substitute, you got to feature the substitute. So I think I got perfect plexed and Flair got perfect plexed.
Do you think that actually worked out better in the long run without having the Warrior there?
I mean, Warrior has a huge fan base and a lot of fans. I never got to wrestle him. I saw him at the Hall of Fame a couple years ago, and we locked up in the back. I said, I never got to work with you. I think overall, and I'm really partial to Kurt Hennig. I think business-wise, the right move was made by bringing Perfect back. But as far as a fan, I think everybody missed Warrior not being there. And he didn't come around for 18 years. I mean, he left that day, and he wasn't back until the Hall of Fame 2014.
Aside from locking up with him, did you have any other comments with him backstage before he went out?
Well, I was the guy who left and went to the competition and was successful. So Vince treated me like I stood him up at the prom, and Warrior had his heat for holding him up. So we were back in the back talking about it. I'm saying, man, I didn't get a royalty check for 15 years. He goes, I didn't get one for 18, brother. So we had, and we were both talking about how cool it felt to be welcome back. It's way more fun to be on the inside looking out than on the outside looking in.
Owen Hart, great friend of yours.
Yeah.
WWE's doing a documentary on him.
Yeah, I participated in it.
What should the fans, and if you could talk about that too, what should the fans nowadays understand about Owen Hart and remember him for?
The way I look at Owen is he grew up in a wrestling family, and where everybody took it really serious. I mean, if you look at the contrast between Brett and Owen, it's really significant. Owen was all about having fun. He never took himself seriously. He was a world-class ribber. There are so many Owen rib stories out there. And I'm really glad that apparently his family, his widow, they've softened their position, so they're allowing, Owen to be honored with the video and stuff, because for a long time I understood there was a feeling where they didn't want anything to do with wrestling, and it was a tragedy, and we miss you, Owen. We still miss you today.
Anything you want to say to your fans out there that are watching this today?
Stay tuned, more coming.